Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to be talking about Rick and Morty, Season 7, Episode 2, and I can smell it. I can smell this episode. That's how much of a stinker it is. I'll be honest with you. So, essentially, this is just a Freaky Friday ripoff, if you will. Basically, you got your typical Jerry and Rick fighting, and Rick's like, okay, I'm going to put my mind in your brain and your mind in my brain. So, essentially, the brains are staying in the same place, but they are swapping bodies. And then within 2 seconds of Rick's mind being in Jerry's body, kills himself. And then Jerry's mind in Rick's body, being stupid, does not realize all of the cybernetics upgrades that Rick Bodies has and ends up killing himself. Lucky, there is a medical robot in the vicinity that brings them back to life. So no big deal. They're not dead. They're alive. They're perfectly fine. It's basically like tripping and scraping your knee. A gunshot wound is apparently. So moving on to the Morty story, where we actually saw the preview for it, which is kind of the better part of the episode, but not really. I didn't really like this episode at all. But Morty is selling crystals, which I guess are drugs. So Morty's just straight up selling drugs for Rick. And the head guy here, the mob boss, is like, yeah, let him do whatever he wants. We'll figure it out. So somehow it manages to make Rick and Jerry like each other. But also not want to be around anybody else is essentially what's happening there. So they're having a conversation with the mob boss. Morty's perfectly fine. Rick's gonna come get him. It's kind of weird. But Jerry is Rick. Rick is Jerry. They swap. It's like kind of like a Freaky Friday with a little bit of a twist because their actual brain power did not get changed. And they're fighting. They're arguing. It leads the mob boss to thinking that there's some sort of weakness, so he takes the crystals back, tries to take Morty back as a hostage. Everybody starts shooting at everybody, and yeah, there's a cool little action sequence in here. So, but it's not a complete crapshoot of an episode. But mob boss dies because Rick becomes a conehead. I actually do remember that reference. That is an older movie. One of the guys that plays in Ghostbusters is the dad. I think it's just called Coneheads. There's a couple of them, I want to say. But then they're buddies, they're best friends. They decided to go to all these fast food places to make one giant burger with all the burgers in it. They end up, figuring out that their neighbor Gene stole their rake. Beth is very confused, and she's like, yeah, nobody's touching me until you figure it out. And they're both like, oh, gross, no, because obviously both of them have part of Rick in there as well. And they decide, nope, we're not actually going to swap bodies. And then there's this lengthy thing where it's like, oh, Jerry would leave a note, but Rick wouldn't leave a note. So here's like a haphazard, crappy note. And then Gene also has a note, and he's like, yeah, mine's really long. So they're just going around stealing shit. That's basically what they're doing. They're just stealing stuff from people. Stealing crystals, whatever else. Their calling card is a burger. That's probably the Jerry brain. Kick it in, shoving burgers in dead people's mouths. And they're just having a grand old time. Meanwhile, this guy calls the mob boss. Apparently, he's actually still alive. You can see he's got a giant hole in his stomach there. Apparently nobody dies from getting impaled anymore. I think this may be a joke to Star Wars, where Qui-Gon Jinn got stabbed and he died, whereas everybody else, Maul gets cut in half, he's alive. Sabine gets stabbed, she's alive. The one Inquisitor from the Obi-Wan series gets stabbed, she's alive twice. She's alive. The Grand Inquisitor gets stabbed, is alive. So I think that's supposed to be poking fun at that. not 100%. That's my best guess. So they decide, okay, we finally have to switch bodies, and then instead of switching bodies, they form into Jarek or Ricky or something. I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't even care because this is stupid. Like it's kind of like a human centipede type spiel. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. They have a six-pack abs. Maybe Jerry does, because it's Jerry's body that has it. Mob boss actually dies. Whatever. Nothing going on here. Then they're like, oh, we sacrificed both of ourselves to become this new entity type deal. They're my grandpa and my dad. You can't just take them. Gene shows up. He's like, here's your rake back, Jarek. He's like, okay, whatever. You think a rake will change my mind? Gets hit in the face. It actually kind of wakes both of them up individually. And they're like, oh my god, get me apart, get me out of this. And then we just end the episode with them yelling at each other. So really nothing happened whatsoever in this episode. They still hate each other. They're not on good terms. Yeah. And then we're done with the episode. What's interesting though is that the bird person memory of Rick that was in Rick's mind is now in Jerry's mind. So I'm wondering if this is going to lead into an episode where this version of Rick becomes Jerry. Like he finds a way to take over Jerry's mind. So this younger Rick, that's bird person's vision of Rick, if that makes sense. But he really has no way to escape because now that he's trapped in Jerry's mind, because apparently everything technology-wise, Jerry views it as springs and gear. So he really has absolutely nothing to work with. And then he's just like, screw you, Gene, at the end of it. He's making art. Let me see if I can actually, Jerricky. There we go, that's the name. But yeah. I didn't like this episode, as you can kind of clearly tell from the beginning of it. New voice actor aside, first episode was definitely significantly better. This is almost on par with that Voltron Megazord thing episode that I just did not like last season. And it seems like there's always one stinker, every season. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but hopefully we're getting it out of the way early. That's all I'm saying. I'm hoping we're getting this out of the way early because it was just rough. I didn't have interest in the episode. All right, let's just take a thing, make it into something, and then as kind of an FU to the Freaky Friday thing, at the end of it, instead of them understanding each other more, they hate each other more than ever. That's kind of the whole spiel of this. I feel like I would have actually liked it a little bit better if they were both like, okay, yep, we have a better understanding of each other. We're not going to be fighting as much. But that's just not the dynamic. This is going to get like a 4 out of 10. I'll be honest. This is not worth a rewatch. If you see it again, skip it. Don't bother. Don't waste your time. Maybe next episode will be better. That's all I can say. What's going to happen next episode, I have no idea. I think it would be cool though if we see some more of Bird Person's memory of young Rick inside of Jerry. Maybe trying to take over the body. Maybe trying to get free. Maybe trying to get back into Rick's mind. That would be really cool to see. Obviously, we need to still find Rick Prime. We need to find Evil Morty. See what he's up to. Even though I feel like Evil Morty is kind of done. Like, I feel like that whole sequence is kind of over with. I mean, yeah, you can find him because he killed all these Ricks, but at the same time, he's not really their enemy. He's not really going after them, so he's not, like, a super important character anymore. I feel like his storyline kind of concluded because he has no reason to go after this Rick and Morty C-137. Well, Rick 137, I'm not sure which number Morty is anymore. But he really doesn't have a reason to do that. There's not really a point because he got what he wanted. He destroyed the infinity curve. He is outside of it, and he's good to go. getting to Rick Prime, that makes sense, finding him, killing him. But, there's technically 3 seasons we're supposed to get still. So they may drag that out 2 other seasons, because if they wrap up the main story, then they got to figure out something else to do, which hopefully is not more of these terrible episodes. But yeah, there you have it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. While you're down there, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, like, share, all that stuff. Thank you for watching. Sorry you had to sit through this episode too. And as always, have a good one.